Okay, so this is a very short video just to show you how this tenders management register works. It's a very simple register, and at some point you may wish to upgrade, but it'll get you going and it'll capture everything that you need to manage your tenders and your results. So you start at the tender register. Now we've got also contracts, and we've got a couple of reports, and then down here I've also got a lookup field, which I'll show you again in when I get to it, and also a company's lookup field. So going back to the register, when you start a tender, you should register it. So we're going to register this tender. This is all just dummy data, so delete this before you start using this yourself in anger. Select the company that you're tendering to. If the company isn't in that list, you can either click here, add new, or you can go down to the bottom tab and select companies. Add in your company name, and also it's a good idea for reporting purposes and interrogation of your results later to select what kind of business they're in. This is a customizable field. If you go to the lookup, then this is the list here, and it's just the standard list that the government uses to classify different types of companies. Going back to the register, put in the number, the name of the tender or the tender title, the closing date, and the closing time. And it's also a good idea to capture what type of tender it is. In this case, this is a request for tender. This again is a customizable field. If you go to the lookup field, it's in grey, it's customizable. You can make any changes you like. They're the most common ones, and so it's a good idea to just use these. Going back to the tender register, it's also a good idea to capture what kind of relationship you have with the business. Because if you are tendering and you have no relationship and you're winning, then you're doing exceptionally well. But if you are tendering and you are only winning the ones where they're an existing customer, then down the track you're going to run into problems because you're not bringing in any new business. And it's a good idea then to go and get some help to learn how to write tenders so that those people who don't know you are also just as happy to select you. So in here, we're going to say we've got no relationship, and then there are some stages that responding to a request for quote, tender, EOI, or whatever, goes through. The first stage is you register it, and then there's a go, no go process. Once you have done the go, no go decision, the decision will be to either proceed or not proceed. Once you've made that decision, then you can start planning. Then after planning, there's the production stage. After production, you're in review stage, and then submitted. So I'm going to say here it's registered. And then after it's closed, it's been submitted, you'll need to circle back once you know the result. And the results are shortlisted. I take that as a win because your document was good enough to get in front of them. And then if you are shortlisted and then you won, that's a great outcome. If you lost, not such a great outcome, but maybe you weren't shortlisted. This is where you just went straight to, I'm sorry, but your tender was not successful on this occasion. If you are shortlisted and then lost, then that's a whole different problem. That means that your document was good enough to get in front of them and to be selected, but something fell short when you started having a conversation with them. So something about the conversation did not give them the confidence that they needed to give you the business. So I'm going to say here we won. And then it's also a good idea to track who writes them, especially if you have multiple writers in-house or business development managers or account executives, whoever's writing your tenders. And also if you're outsourcing to a business like BidBuddy, then you should also track their performance, especially against your internal performance. And then if you want to remove this from view, you can turn this into a filter and then filter and pull out the yeses, and then the yeses will disappear, and that'll make your list shorter. The other thing that you can do is you can filter on any of these other filters up here. So you can filter on the relationship or the current status. Let's say you only want to see those that are in the planning stage, for example. Here we are. If it's in the planning stage, this shouldn't be have been won. So let's say that this has been submitted because that fits the fact that it's expired and you've won. So, and if you want that to then disappear, just reset the filter and it's gone. You know that this column has been filtered because this little tab here looks different to the others. There's a filter icon on it. Turn these all open. Now, once you've got to the point where you have won, and you are in contracting mode, then it's a good idea to copy this and move it into the contracts field. And this is the date that the contract starts. So let's say this is starting on the 4th of April 2025. Then this is your contract value. And then the term of the contract, how long this contract is going to go for. If it's going to go for a certain number of months, then you would put in, put 25 month of a year. So this is in years. And that's when it's going to expire on the 3rd of July. But most contracts are term contracts. So this is your initial term. Let's say it's a 2-year contract. And then there are there's one 2-year extension. So one 2-year extension followed by a 1-year contract. So this is a 2 plus 2 plus 1. This one here is a 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1. So this is 10 years in total. 12 years in total. 3 threes are 9 plus 1 plus 3. And it calculates the next expiry date. You need to keep an eye on those because your contract may give you certain obligations that you have to fulfill at the end of every expiry date. So maybe you have to give them notice that you are going to exercise your right to increase the prices, for example, or maybe you have to submit updated insurances. So it's a good idea to keep a track of this. And just like the tender register tab, you can also filter out any of these entries, and you can put notes in. You can also link to the contract document. Going back to this lookup tab, these ones, as I said, are not variable, and that's because I have built some reports around them. Now, if you know what to do with Excel, then I would have no problem with you changing those because you can build your own reports. But if you don't know how to use Excel very well, then don't touch those. And this is your overall win rate. To update these, you need to right-click and click refresh. This has already been refreshed, so it's not going to refresh again. And this gives you your wins by relationship. So if it's an existing customer, you've won 1 out of 5. You've won 3 where you didn't know what the relationship was. You've been shortlisted with one where you had no relationship, and the implication there is that you haven't heard yet whether you've won or lost. You're still in negotiations. And then here you've lost one where you had a good relationship, so that's probably worth doing some interrogation into as well. And then over here we have the writers, and the results. So Sue has won 1 and Jane has won 2 out of, so Jane's performance is 2 out of 2 and Sue's performance is 1 out of 2, and Hemi hasn't won any yet, and he's written one. You can also monitor your open tenders by submitting, by picking the writer here, and this is the details around the tenders by the current stage that they're at. So in the planning stage, you've got 2 that expire here, and over here you have 1 that's in review. If you only want to see yours, then I have 1 that I have worked on that's in production. It's expired, so that status should be changed. Let's go back to the one that's got Sue's name against it, and that should be submitted because it's expired, and this should be submitted. So you need to keep this up to date. If you don't want to, it's fine, but if you want to get the best out of this, then you need to keep this up to date. And that's all I wanted to show you. I hope you have a lot of fun with it.